really enjoyed making the video about the King's Speech, so I've decided to keep going, pressing on with the mission at hand, and I've turned my eye to another Best Picture winner this week, and that is The Shape of Water from 2017. The story follows Eliza, who is like a janitor at a secret Cold War era government lab, and she discovers an imprisoned creature, sort of a water creature. And she forms this deep emotional and romantic bond with the creature through gestures and a shared loneliness. There's this cruel agent, Strickland, who's planning to kill the creature for military research. But Eliza and her group of allies rescue the creature and hide him whilst preparing to release him back into the ocean where they believe that he came from. And in a final confrontation, Strickland shoots the creature and Eliza. The creature kills Strickland and revives Eliza underwater, suggesting that they live on together happily ever after, like any good fairy tale. So, a total of 4 Oscar wins. 1 for Best Picture, 1 for Best Director, Guillermo del Toro, 1 for Best Production Design, and 1 for Best Original Score, which I think, in my opinion, is very well deserved. The music in this film is absolutely bloody gorgeous. Had 13 nominations overall. It was actually the second fantasy film after Lord of the Rings to win Best Picture, which I think is an interesting fact because it just demonstrates that any film can win this of any genre. We're not I hear a lot about horror being overlooked and neglected. I think if you make a good horror film, it can win Best Picture, as simple as that. And this demonstrates that, which I like. So cast-wise, we've got a pretty stellar lineup. Sally Hawkins taking the lead. We've got Michael Shannon in there, Richard Jenkins, Doug Jones playing the creature, who does an amazing job, and of course the fabulous Octavia Spencer. And what performances they give as a cast. I mean, Sally Hawkins is brilliant. I mean, she always is. She's great at giving a sort of sensitive performance. But I was a little uneasy at first watching an able actor perform a disabled role. It's something that doesn't sit well with me across the board, but actually I recognise why they used Hawkins in that role, and I thought she did a beautiful job, especially the sort of the curiosity that she conveys is pretty mesmerising. I loved Michael Shannon, who is just so evil. He makes me feel uncomfortable from the second I think we see his foot walk through the door before, and he is so uncomfortable to watch in that film. It's really disconcerting. And I mean, you've got to talk about Doug Jones. At first, I can't say that I was massively intrigued by the creature. I didn't really get much from it. It's a thing of beauty. The costume and makeup team have done an amazing job at what they've done, but I didn't really, I wasn't bothered by it. In fact, I was a little I was hesitant, I was resistant for it. But you know what? Doug Jones does a fantastic job of conveying emotion and love through that performance and through that costume. It's such an impressive thing to do, and I regret that he wasn't nominated in a supporting actor role, because I think that would have been a really great nomination to see there. I was a little triggered hearing the music in this film, because it definitely played in the Odeon when I worked there. So it just gave me some traumatic vibes about serving popcorn and dealing with complaints. But I have to say, it's so powerful. It's this ethereal beauty thing that's going on that I just love to, and really helps with the storytelling. It really guides you on that journey. And I read that the music is designed to make you feel like you're floating, and it absolutely does that. I'm not surprised at all that this film won Best Original Score. It is remarkable. There's also moments where the music really helps in the super powerful moments when Strickland is looking at the calendar in Eliza's flat and is piecing everything together. The music really helps there to sort of gain this momentum of feeling, and it's so good. So this film does something that I bloody love, and it's when films are naturalistic, but they feel like they're on a set. It feels like they're playing. Something like Amelie, which is one of my favourite films. This felt very heavily like that, particularly in the at home in Eliza's flat. Everything feels so carefully placed and positioned, but it also feels naturalistic and real, which is lovely. Whilst those performances are magical, I do think the direction takes a really heavy reliance on imagery, detail, the set, um, allowing those performances to kind of take a little bit of a back seat almost. They're very understated, just very naturalistic performances for what is a fantasy story. So I quite like that. I love how much the set and the props have to say for themselves. And they do this by using really beautiful set dressing, like the checking cards or the old televisions, the phones. Everything feels of its time. It's so gorgeous to look at. And bloody hell, he loved green, didn't he? There's tons of it, absolutely loads of it. From the pies to the phones to the water. Everything is this. It's sort of gorgeous shades of green, and it's lovely. Her curiosity with the morbid was really interesting to me, and it was actually what I'd kind of got on board with her character by this point anyway. But when Eliza starts picking up the two sort of detached fingers off the floor and then just puts them in her little sort of paper bag, that was the moment that I thought, this is someone I want to know even more about. I want to come on this journey with her. The design of the amphibian creature, I thought was excellent. Really, really beautiful work. I love that that's practical, and I watched the new Avatar the other day, and it really puts that whole image to shame. Um, I personally think Avatar is very naff, especially in that design, and I think that this should be the point of reference for anybody trying to create an otherworldly being or a non-human being. I'm a sucker for a practical effect. I bloody love Jim Henson, Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, The Muppets. So I do feel like I should give Del Toro more of a shot because I love everything sort of that he'd done in this. I remember his version of Pinocchio from a few years ago that didn't really do much for me. And I saw Frankenstein, which is it's very beautiful, but again didn't do much for me. So I'm looking forward to revisiting some more of his work. One of the themes of this film is the beauty of the other, and that's told in so many different ways. Of course, the relationship between Eliza and the creature is a huge one, but also that the ones that show the creature the most kindness are a group of disenfranchised, sort of outcasted people anyway. Eliza, Giles, Zelda, Dimitri, they all come together and form this protection for him, which is a really beautiful thing to watch. I read a take that some people feel that what the film says is that disabled people can't be loved without being changed. I think maybe due to my privilege, I didn't see that. I just saw a very beautiful love story between two individuals who didn't find love from outside of their relationship. Uh, but it is food for thought. It does make you think. I don't think that's what the film is trying to say. What I will say is that that group of characters did keep me invested in the film. I did find an attachment to especially the three Eliza, Giles, and Zelda, I found that I wanted to keep watching what they were going through in their experience. Um, if I'm honest, I found the scenes where the men were talking a little dull. I kind of the whole sort of American Russian sort of spy trying to keep things undercover thing, military research, blah blah blah. I get it. It was nice dressing, but truthfully, where there was sort of long bits of dialogue just between sort of agents and men, I, I was getting a little zoned out, if I'm honest, and I needed that resurgence of an interesting character, to be honest, to come back and hook me back in. Not to say that that happened a lot, but there were times where I just fell out of this film. I also think that their threat is fairly obvious. It's not exciting, and I kept wondering if there was going to be a twist that would happen, but no, it was pretty. It kind of lacked suspense for me. I feel like the ending kind of wasted some moments. They both get shot, and we kind of don't get time to grieve. Um, I felt like it could have lent into that a bit more, and we'd be there sort of holding our breath, not wanting to, wondering if they could make it through this. But we don't get that moment. There was part of me that wondered if he was going to revive Strickland at the end. I'm glad he didn't because I thought he was an evil bastard. But it was a nice moment for me to wonder, oh, is he going to do the whole thing of, I'm not the monster that you think I am. I'm the better person in this scenario. Um, he didn't. I'm glad he didn't. But it was a nice moment of suspense there as to whether he would. I think what really gets me about this film is that it's such an obvious love letter to cinema and media and culture. And the imagery of that gorgeous cinema at the beginning was just sublime. And I can't tell you how much I want to sit in that cinema and watch old films. Take me there now. And as someone who loves films, it was really touching to watch characters who equally shared that love of film. It sort of invited me in to to be in the film with them, and I wonder if that maybe played into the sort of the voters' hands at the Oscars because I can totally see being swept away with it. I've read that Del Toro was inspired by Creature from the Black Lagoon as a child, and the feeling of wanting the two of them to fall in love and form a relationship, which I think just creates such beautiful imagery and such a perfect setup for a film, which it clearly makes. Del Toro says that he wanted to make a new Beauty and the Beast where Belle is an ordinary person, someone that you fall in love with, not just admire from the off. I love that. That's so cool. That is so interesting. Interesting, but and the way that Eliza and Giles communicate through their love of dance, that's another beautiful moment. I really like the bit, it was kind of like a little Easter egg where Giles is watching Mr. Ed. That just satisfied me a lot. Love Mr. Ed representation anywhere I can get it, but also that sort of parallel of a humanoid character. I wonder if that was to sort of subtly show that Giles could be accepting of something that was odd or otherworldly before he even meets the creature, the amphibian. So I had a lot of favourite moments in this film. There was loads of contenders. There's a great moment where they're planning to get the creature out of the lab, or that moment where Eliza signs "fuck you" to Strickland, and he doesn't know what she's saying, and just sort of that's so good. There's also that great moment where the water fills the bathroom, and they're just floating together in the water. That's really wonderful. But my favourite scene was the recreation of the Fred and Ginger Follow the Fleet dance routine, uh, where Eliza and the amphibian are dancing, seemingly in this sort of Hollywood musical of the time, and it is just sublime. It is so gorgeous to watch, and I'm a sucker for a dream sequence anyway. We just really felt every crumb of passion that she had in that moment through that beautiful set, the gorgeous dancing, that choreography is exquisite. I bloody love that. Okay, so there were 9 other nominees this year. So number 9, I'd have put Darkest Hour, the Gary Oldman, Winston Churchill biopic. 8, The Post, with Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. I think Steven Spielberg directed that. 7, I'd have gone for Phantom Thread, with Daniel Day-Lewis. 6, I'd have gone for Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan wartime epic. Amazing film, just long and lengthy. So 5 is where I'd have put The Shape of Water. It's a really strong year, and I'll come back to this, but for a film that I really liked, I kind of needed to love it. 4, I went for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Frances McDormand is not an actress that I love, but she's phenomenal in that film and it just tells a really, really good story. 3, Get Out, Jordan Peele. It's phenomenal storytelling. 2 would have been Call Me By Your Name. Probably up until Marty Supreme, the only Timothée Chalamet performance that I really, really rate. And just the backdrop of Italy in the background is just sublime. I've never been to Italy, but I bloody want to just because of that film. And the film I would have given Best Picture to is Lady Bird, the Saoirse Ronan, Greta Gerwig collaboration. I've got to say, this was a really, really strong year for films. And whilst I think the top 3 are probably the most worthy, I'd have been quite content with any of those top 5 winning Best Picture. I think they were all very deserving in their own merit. But for me, in Lady Bird, Saoirse Ronan gives such a memorable performance with one of my all-time favourite scripts. The Shape of Water isn't necessarily my favourite film out of these 9, but I do think that it's probably the most powerful, the most epic, and the most beautiful to watch. So I kind of give it its dues, and I do think it's worthy of winning Best Picture out of the lineup for sure. My star rating for The Shape of Water is 4 stars. In a nutshell, this film won Best Picture because it successfully reimagines a tale as old as time in a beautiful, moving, and powerful way, all while set to one of the greatest scores in cinema history. My ranking on my big old list is 2 out of 2 for now. I do think in the long run this will be fairly middle of the road. I think there's a lot of great pictures to come. For me, The King's Speech is still the best picture out of these 2. Only because I think for the surprise factor, I kind of expected to like The Shape of Water. I thought I was going to love this film, and I did. The King's Speech, I thought I was going to get bored. I thought I was going to want to turn it off and go, oh God, something else. But actually, I was really invested right to the end. So for me, I think it's that brief element of surprise, the intrigue that I had with the story, just pips it over The Shape of Water for now, for me. But we've got 90-something more to come, so who knows what will topple The King's Speech. So that's what I thought of The Shape of Water, but what did you think? Leave me a comment below, let me know. Any best pictures you really want me to get round to. I'm just kind of doing them in a bit of a random order at the moment. I'm currently replacing DVDs with Blu-rays as and where I can, so they're kind of the ones that I'm sticking with to start, but I'm game for anything. I'll be giving them all a watch at some point. So yeah, like, subscribe, get in touch. I'm in love love with the shape of water. I'm in love with the shape of water. Taylor's old as time. Taylor's old as time. Nah.